Everybody, welcome back to the Sunnydale Review. I'm Brian.
I'm Jillian.
And Jillian, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited to talk about, excited but melancholy to talk about this first episode. In today's
Yeah.
episode, we're covering Season 4, Episodes 19 and 20, New Moon Rising, and the Yoko Factor. So, let's just get into it. Let's get into New Moon Rising. This originally aired May 2nd, 2000, was written by Marty Noxon and directed by James A. Cotner. So we start with Willow and Tara. They're discussing adopting a cat together and bringing Tara to her first Scooby meeting. So, during this scene, it's pretty fun. They're pitching names of what they could possibly call it. And of course, the standout is Miss Kitty Fantastic.
Fantastico.
Yes. I mean, how could you not name that? Joe, I know you have a lot of cats. Were you ever tempted to name any of your cats Miss Kitty Fantastica?
So we actually haven't had a female cat since I was
Right.
very young. We had a female cat. Her name was Simba.
Okay.
And what we got her when I was in literally like kindergarten. So
Mm.
I obviously hadn't seen Buffy yet. Um, I would be incredibly tempted to call my next cat Miss Kitty Fantastica. We've talked about getting a kitten, but we think that we might need to get another boy because Jack
Yeah.
and Rocky throwing a girl into that mix might not be great.
Or just Mr. Kitty Fantastico. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
All right. So at the Scooby meeting, things are pretty slow on the demon front for the Scoobies, while the initiative is capturing many more demons. I believe Riley says they have demons coming out of their ears, and Willow's like, "That's a metaphor." Tara's like, "Thanks, I know." She's like, being overly helpful.
Living on the Hellmouth, though, sometimes you need to check.
Hmm.
Like,
I mean,
what was it? When Buffy got her acceptance to college, and she said that her mom's head spun around and exploded,
mhm.
and hey, Jack, and Giles goes, "I've been living on the Hellmouth too long." That was exaggerated, right? And she's like, "Oh yeah, my mom's fine." She was just very excited.
So I mean, so it makes sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, without a lot of stuff happening, they're saying, well, maybe Adam's behind this, maybe something bigger's coming. They're not really sure, but for tonight, there's not much they can do. So they're gonna all disband, and just as they're about to disband, in walks Oz. Yeah. And then credits. Oh man! So obviously Oz being thrown back into the mix. We love Oz. You love Oz. I mean, you got
I love
Oz
Oz.
Funko Pop right behind you. What are your feelings on Oz coming back in this episode?
Okay, so when I first saw this, I don't think I realized how big of a deal it was.
Mm,
Only because the first episode I ever saw was Wild at Heart, the episode where he left.
right.
So, like, I didn't have all of the history of
Mm,
the Willow and Oz relationship.
mm,
Um, at that point, I just knew that they were clearly together for a long time. They clearly loved each other, and then he took off.
right.
So, but like watching it back now and like knowing that spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the end of this episode. I don't know why
Mm.
you're listening to this video if you haven't.
I know, right?
He leaves again at the end of this video, and it's
Mm,
heartbreaking all over again. But I I I just appreciate getting him back for one episode.
yeah.
Like
I mean, Seth Green's awesome as this
oh
character,
yeah,
so
and just
more Oz.
the chemistry that Seth Green and Allison Hannigan have together, like I love Tara. I do. Where they go moving forward from here, and the past couple episodes since she got introduced in Hush, like they're great together. But I think Oz and Willow, with it being like the relationship that was for a while and then ended, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love Oz and Willow together. They just have this
Mm,
chemistry that I'm just like I love it.
right. So this is very awkward for everybody involved. Chief among them, Willow and Tara. Um, although no one
I
really
love
knows about what Tara really is to Willow, except for Willow and Tara. So everyone else is just like, oh, cool. Oz is back. This is great.
I love that like Xander breaks the awkward silence. He's like, Oz, I hate to sound like your grandma, but you don't write, you don't call.
Yeah. Oh, man. And
Well,
yeah,
because
they're
you gotta
like,
remember that not only does he have that history with Willow, but he has that history with all of the Scoobies,
mhm.
minus Riley.
Yeah. I gotta
Or like
say, like, he's like the one guy that Xander likes other than Giles.
Giles.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's that Xander just automatically has something against any boyfriend that Buffy has,
True. True. Yeah.
and not that many other guys get introduced
Mm.
into the Scoobies, at least not into the inner circle.
Mm.
I guess there's like Andrew later, but
Right. Which, yeah, we'll get there eventually.
the Scoobies are a generally when you bring in like characters outside of the main four,
Mm.
it's predominantly female.
Yeah. True.
So
Oh man. All right. So Oz and Willow make plans to have a talk later that evening because, yeah, gotta gotta have a talk after everything they've been through. And him just showing up out of the blue. Uh,
yeah, a little bit.
yeah. So later that night, in a graveyard, Buffy and Riley tag team a demon. Goes really easily. They're a very, very good team together. And then Buffy fills him in on Oz, his relationship with Willow, and him being a werewolf. Yeah, just slides that in there. Riley doesn't take it well.
In there.
No, yeah.
No.
So yeah, you go.
I just have a problem with this conversation because Riley takes it like, oh, huh, I thought Willow was smarter than that.
Mm.
And it's like, dude, I'm sorry. You've been around long enough. You knew Oz before he left. Like, you weren't like buddy with him, but you knew he was like a nice guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when he's like, oh, I never thought that, Willow would go for like a dangerous guy like that, blah, blah. It's like, dude, shut up.
Yeah, supposedly you were his TA. I don't think we ever saw Oz in that class, but
We saw him in there once and then never
right.
again.
Oh man.
I don't know. I have an issue with Riley in this episode. And I get that it's for like the moment of growth later in the episode. But yeah. I don't
Yeah, and Oz is, Riley doesn't even know what he's really talking about because every time he talks about how dangerous dating a demon is, you got the subtext of the Angel Buffy relationship there, and Buffy does not take very kindly to that.
No.
Later that night at the campus, Willow and Oz take a walk. Oz is like, okay, I really want to show you something outside. And Willow's like, what? Okay, fine. So they go out there. Then he shows Willow that the moon is full and that he hasn't changed, which is pretty insane.
Yeah.
Because up to this point, it was kind of like, yeah, we know that he's going to go off to find a cure, but like, what does that mean? Like, is there a cure to being a werewolf? We don't know. So Oz definitely wants to get back together with Willow. He's even says like, yeah, I talked to Xander. He says that there's not another guy in the picture. He understands that the situation is pretty weird, so he's not going to push it. And then there's obviously, we know as the audience that Willow and Tara are becoming a thing, and it's just bad timing.
It really is.
It's no one's fault. It's just no one's the bad guy. It's just bad timing.
Okay. I would argue against that.
Okay.
It is Oz's fault. I love Oz, but I will hands down admit that this is his fault because he left. He did not give Willow any choice in the matter. He just took off.
Okay,
He didn't call her. He didn't write her. Nothing. She had to find out that he dropped out of school by the fact that she went to his dorm and all of his stuff was gone.
All right. That's fair. That's very fair. he's going through a thing. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
and I mean,
I get where you're
he
coming from.
he left it wild at heart, which was clearly before Thanksgiving.
Mm,
Now they're getting close to the end of the school year. So it's been a while.
yeah. No, I don't disagree. So, elsewhere, Graham is leading a patrol that is violently attacked by a big hairy demon who looks suspiciously like a werewolf. Though, I mean, we can pretty much safely say that it's not a werewolf. Granted, they sometimes do change what the werewolf looks like, so it's hard to completely say. But, to Graham and the other soldiers, they have no idea what's happening here. So
No.
it's understandable that a werewolf would be their first, go to in terms of suspects.
Well,
Um,
I mean, it is a full moon. I mean, the
yep,
evidence is kind of there, but we do know that at one point there was more than one werewolf on campus. Who's to say
that's
that
true.
somebody else didn't join, right?
Yeah, one of them wasn't too about, being caged up, so I'm sure there's a few werewolves out there.
Yeah.
Oh man. So Oz and Willow spend all night talking. He explains that he went to Tibet. He learned meditation techniques, and that coupled with herbs, and that coupled with herbs, learning chants and some charms, helps him stay human during the full moon, which is cool. It's not a cure all, It's not like okay, you're not a werewolf anymore, but it's it's good, I guess.
It's like a suppressant.
Yeah, really, that's really exactly what it is.
He
So
found a way to take allergy meds for his werewolfism.
yeah. Oh man. So Willow's like, oh man, spent all night talking. We should get breakfast. And then I was like, or we could just stay in. And she was like, I think I'm gonna go with the less confusing breakfast.
I
Oh
mean,
man.
it's a lot because it's like this is something that she wanted for so long. Like even after he left, she would go back to his dorm room just to like smell his clothes and stuff, which is something I don't understand because I don't have a sense of smell. But apparently this is a thing. Like
Mm,
scent is a big thing in like relationships or something. I have no idea.
right.
But so like this is something that she wanted for so long. She was absolutely completely devastated and heartbroken when Oz left. And so now he's back and he's like, "Hey, I'm back. Let's have everything go back to the way it was." And she's
Right.
like, "Can we hold on a second here cuz I need to process this."
Yeah.
I've been in the process of moving on.
Right. Oh man.
So,
So Willow goes to freshen up in the bathroom down the hall, and while she's in there, Tara comes, knocks on the door, and Oz is just like, "Oh, hey, you were at Giles the other night. Do you want to like come in?" And obviously Tara's like, "Oh, this sucks." Clearly, the spent the whole night together. So, what does that necessarily imply? You know,
right.
and so she leaves, which very much confuses Oz. He's like, "What the hell was that?" Oh man. So elsewhere, Riley wakes up and tries to cuddle Buffy, who immediately gets up as he tries to do this. Their interaction's very tense. I believe she even pokes fun at him calling his mother every morning, which I guess now that um, Professor Walsh is dead, he's gonna call his actual mom.
Yeah.
This is a big loss for
Oh,
him.
I mean, we hope it's still okay.
Yeah, I'm
Did we
sure.
ever hear about her?
We never see her or anything, but I'm sure she's fine.
I mean, he went home to Iowa for what Thanksgiving, so I guess he has
Yeah, I'm
family.
sure he's fine. Sure, Mama Finn is all right. Oh man. So he tries to like talk to Buffy because he's like, hey, I've been awake for 1 minute. I've already pissed you off. It's a very funny line. And Buffy tries to explain to him that it's not black and white. Not all demons are bad. She even says not all vampires are bad. And he's like, really? Name one. And she doesn't want to tell him about angels, so she can't. Instead, she just leaves. She says, you sounded like Mr. Initiative last night. People good, demons bad. So, I mean, just kind of shows what the initiative's all about there, right? We talked earlier about how they don't view demons as like intelligent beings at all, and this is like feeding into that where they just view them as just nothing but evil badness.
Right.
Her speech about, demons potentially being good is undercut by Forrest, who comes in to tell them that a demon attacked Graham and a bunch of other troops, which, is just bad timing for Buffy to try to explain all of this. Oh, man.
Yeah.
So Buffy...
I mean,
oh, sorry. Yeah.
oh no, it's just, doesn't he? Oh no, that was back in Who Are You, where he tried to call Buffy a killer.
Yeah.
Never mind. Yeah, no. Forrest sucks. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Oh man. So Buffy and Willow have a heart-to-heart about Oz coming back, and while that's complicated, and it's complicated because Tara and Willow have something between them. Buffy is admittedly a little awkward about Willow coming out to her. I guess it was a different time, right? I think people are much cooler about it these days, but definitely back then, I guess people weren't quite as quick. Though Buffy is a good friend, she does like get on the right track. She is taken aback momentarily by it.
Yeah. Which I purposely rewatched this scene this morning just because like I wanted to be able to, because I hadn't watched this episode in kind of a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and I was like, I want to watch this scene specifically.
Right.
I think that Buffy actually handles the situation incredibly well. I know that uh, Willow and Tara are, if not the first, they're one of the first female gay couples on TV for
Mm-hmm.
like the time that this came out. And that's
Right.
why the network had such an issue and told them that they couldn't show them kissing
Mm-hmm.
for an incredibly long time. Like
Right.
they needed to limit the amount of actual physical intimacy that was between Willow and Tara. Um, and that's why the writers kind of got around it by having like the spells they do together take
Right.
on this very like sexual metaphor. But I think that Buffy's reaction in this is completely fair, even by today's standards.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, Willow doesn't come out and say, hey, I think I might be gay.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, if this was today, I don't know. She might have been seen as like bisexual, not necessarily just gay, because she does have, those strong feelings for Oz still.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it is complete. Buffy's reaction is completely fair. She does not attack Willow. She does not tell her. She's not like, are you sure? Like, could you not be? Like, she
Right.
doesn't have
Yeah.
any of that reaction. Um, she's just like trying to be supportive while also trying to process
Mm-hmm.
what Willow just implied to her, because Willow
Right.
again doesn't come right out and say it.
Right.
And that very well may have been directed from the network. But I think that like because she's like, that's great, Will.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be happy, Will, and
Yeah.
she keeps ending every statement with Will, and
Mm-hmm.
Willow's like, why do you keep saying my name like that? And it's just this great moment. But I think that like, having Willow in this very long-term relationship with Oz. I mean, that relationship started season 2. They had some rocky patches in there, but I mean, it went through, I mean, almost the okay, so like the first quarter of the season. So they were together for a long time, and that's the only relationship that Buffy has seen Willow in, except for the robot and I Robot Eugene, which we don't talk about. Um, but like, and we Buffy only just met Tara. She just met Tara. I mean, she didn't even really meet her in Who Are You? Because
Mm.
Faith met her in Buffy's
Oh,
body.
right. Yeah,
Or
yeah.
no, she did meet Tara in that episode very, very, very quickly when she was in Faith's body. So she's really only known that Tara is a thing, like that Tara is a person who exists in this universe for like 2.5 episodes, which is like not like a. It's very much a relationship that Willow was purposely kind of keeping separate from her Scooby life.
Mm.
But this is where I think Buffy's reaction is kind of appropriate, where it's like, oh, okay, wait a second. We're best friends. You've only just started bringing this person around. And now you're saying that you're in some way in a relationship with them? Like, okay, give me a second. I'm just catching up here.
Right, right. Makes
But like,
sense.
Buffy does not in any way attack Willow, which is what
Mm.
I love about this scene. She's
Right.
processing it in a way that is completely fair for her to do, but she does not attack or try to convince her otherwise.
Mm.
Okay, sorry.
No,
Soapbox.
this
Shut
this is good. This is good. So elsewhere in Spike's crypt, which he's hasn't really furnished too much yet, just laying
been
on
there a couple of days.
the crypt. Adam shows up, and as he like goes to wake up Spike, Spike grabs his hand. And he's like, judging by the sound of those, like, was it like massive mud flops?
Yeah.
It's like you're a demon, which means you're in for like a world of hurt. And he tries to punch Adam, and it just doesn't even affect him at all.
I
So good.
like how Adam, who seems to have at least to some degree the same resources that the initiative does,
Hmm.
somehow managed to track down Spike
Right.
like so fast.
He can make demons talk. He's got some demons on his side. They probably know where Spike is.
Okay, that's fair.
That's just what I headcanon, I guess. Um, so he offers a deal to Spike where they can help each other out with their, problems. Spike's being the chip, Adam being some vague thing that isn't quite explained yet. Oh man. So Willow and Tara have a sad conversation as Tara tries to say that Oz coming back is fine and like they'll still be friends and it don't worry about it basically like I always knew that if he came back and all this and Willow's like kind of like no it's just a very confusing time for me right now but what they had together is like too important for Willow to just pass up for this.
Yeah. And Tara is so sweet in this. She's like, you gotta do what makes you happy. Like she just, regardless of whatever happens, she just wants Willow to be happy. It's
Yeah,
so sweet.
yeah, Tara's awesome. Um, so later in the hall, Oz is I think like looking at class stuff on the bulletin board or just like getting reacclimated to the campus because he's planning on coming back. And he like turns, he's like Willow, but it's Tara, and he's very confused because he and he realizes that Tara's wearing her sweater.
No, he asks if she's wearing her sweater,
Okay,
and Tara doesn't answer.
right, right,
But
and
she has
then
Willow scent all over her.
yeah, and he gets very in a tizzy about all this. It's very confusing for him, and it just causes him to just spiral, basically out of control. And the wolf comes out, and he tells Tara to run away. So Tara does that. She runs into the lecture hall where they take psych. She runs around that for a little bit. And she throws a chair at Oz. And it's just a weird scene because it looks like the chair just completely takes Oz out. But it's actually a tranquilizer dart from Riley off screen, just like at the exact same moment. The initiative like bag him up to see if he's what attacked their friends. Tara's trying to explain like, no, you don't understand, but they're like, yeah, shut up. We're the initiative. We're not gonna listen to you. Um, so back in the
Forrest
crypt,
is just like, oh, sorry. Forrest goes over to Tara and he's just like, you're very confused. You don't know what you just
yeah,
saw. It's like, dude, if you're gonna try that, just get one of the Men in Black like
yeah,
red light.
exactly. Oh man. Oh man. So back at the crypt, Adam explains a plan to Spike about a coming conflict that will involve humans and demons. He says that he's gonna need a lot of casualties on both sides. Um, and he needs the Slayer to be the leader of the human faction for the humans to be able to draw out these casualties from the demons. Spike is a little trepidatious. He says, fighting the Slayer isn't necessarily a good idea. His exact quote is, "The Slayer's a whiny thing, but she does have a slight tendency to win." And then Adam's like, "Well, then you better be on her side." Oh man, I love that. I love that Spike just like has gone to he's gone from completely hating Buffy's guts to like a begrudging respect to like, yeah, I don't know, you can't really beat her. She outsmarts everyone and always wins everything and stops everything.
Well, I mean, that's probably why he's kind of continued to align himself with the Scoobies. Like, as much as he likes to make it seem like he's unwilling to do so,
Right.
I mean, he doesn't have anybody else on his side.
No. Oh man. So Tara finds Willow and explains what happened. Um, to Oz, the Scoobies start to make a plan to break into the initiative to rescue Oz. They don't know where Riley's at during all this because he obviously has brought Oz back to the initiative and hasn't checked in with them. So they're
Mhm.
like, okay, well, we're just going to have to figure this out on our own. Then we cut back to the initiative, and Riley points a gun at Oz, which causes him to turn back into a human. And this just changes, like, his whole demeanor. He's just like, oh, like, I know this person. Like, he's not a killer. He's not evil, anything like this. And that gets him thrown out of the pit, of the tinfoil pit, because he's too attached to what's happening.
Oh,
Um,
it's so like confusing with his character though, because of the fact that like, you know, literally the night before, he was calling Oz dangerous and a demon and,
yeah,
blah blah blah, and like being like, "Oh, I thought Willow was smarter than to get into a relationship with someone like that," and blah blah blah. But it's like now he's like, "Wait, I know this person. This changes everything, and we should definitely not be testing on them," and blah 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 blah. It's like,
yeah. And I think, like, maybe him turning like back to human like right in front of him, and Oz is a pretty tiny guy. This probably looks very meek in this cage, and just something clicked with Riley and just being like, oh, I get it now. you
yeah.
know Maybe, I don't know, it is a little sloppy writing. Oh man. So at the initiative, the find out that Oz's wolf form is brought out by negative stimuli. So that means they're just gonna torture the shit out of Oz to get him to turn back and forth, which is real great, real great. Oz is a werewolf, I get it, but he's also an American citizen. He has rights. You can't just do that.
You can't just keep electrocuting him. Come on.
Yeah. Um, Back at Giles, Spike comes to the Scoobies to help them get into the initiative. He tells them that he has a back door into it that he learned about from escaping. So at the initiative, Riley opens up Oz's cell to free him. It's very clear that Oz has been tortured. He's all bruised and just like huddled in a corner. I think he's like, looks like he was crying, you know. Which, I mean, understandable. It's a pretty horrific situation he's gotten himself in on the heels of finding out that his girlfriend has already moved on. Um, and yeah, it's just a bad day for Oz, all things considered.
like, why did I come back to Sunnydale?
For real. Could have stayed in Tibet. It could have become a monk, but no. I had to come back. All right, so as they're getting Oz out, they get him some clothes, which is, of course, good. Um, but they're caught by Forrest Graham and a bunch of other soldiers. Oz is returned to his cell, and Riley is locked up.
Okay, so when Riley is like trying to sneak Oz out, just the height difference between Mark Blucas and Seth Green, I think is hysterical.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that they gave Seth Green the direction of like, you gotta walk really slow, act like you're hurt, blah blah blah, which for some reason has caused Seth Green to just like take these massive steps that are way like it seems like they're like he's taking steps that are way longer than his normal like stride would be. And then Mark Blucas is trying to look like he's like supporting Seth Green, but the height difference is so crazy. I'm like, you guys might have been better off just having Mark Lucas give Seth Green a piggyback ride.
Yeah. Just
Like
carry him out of
it
the
just looks
initiative.
really awkward. It
Oh,
just
man.
looks really awkward.
So the new guy in charge says that he's going to court-martial Riley if he doesn't help take down the Scoobies. He calls the Scoobies anarchists. Elsewhere, Adam unlocks the back door remotely through his phone connection in his head, connected to the computer.
Phone jack in his head
Yeah.
and a floppy disk drive in his chest.
Right. Anya and Giles are able to shut down the electrical grid for the whole campus and the surrounding area. It's a fun
I
scene.
think
Where
it was actually Adam.
yeah,
Honestly.
yeah. Where Anya's like, just like slap me with your hand or something, and like slap hands, and Giles is like, what? And he's like, oh, and give like a high five. I was like, ow.
Well, she goes, slap my hand, man.
Yeah,
He's
so
like, what?
ridiculous. Love it.
And he gives her a high five, and she's like, ow.
Oh man. So Buffy wakes up the new guy in bed with a little crossbow pointed at him. And she's like, you know who I am? And you know I'm pretty good with one of these. The new guy tells the Scoobies Riley tried to help Oz escape and that he's being held. And Danny's like, well, good for us. I guess we get a 2-for-1. They free both of them, though when Oz sees Willow, he almost wolfs out. But he's able to keep it cool, keep it under control.
Okay, so one thing here is that so Buffy goes to free Riley, who's been locked in the brig, and she opens the door to his cell, and he kind of starts to walk out, and he goes, Buffy, if I leave now, I can't ever come back. And she just kind of stands there like, okay, you got to make a decision here. Like, we don't have a lot of time. And he's like, sorry, I just needed to hear that out loud. He's like, it's like, I just need to, like, recognize this fact and then feel firm in the fact that, like, I knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of soldiers pointing guns at them, but they have the crossbow on the new commander guy. They end up going into an elevator with him. Everyone gets out. Riley pulls the wires out so they can't be followed. And he says some pretty mean shit to Riley about how he's ruining his life and how he's a traitor. And Riley has a really lame line. He's like, I'm not a traitor, I'm an anarchist. He punches the guy in the face. It's like, man, we need to work on that, Riley. It's terrible.
You need to go to the Buffy School of Quipping 101.
Yes, absolutely. So Riley makes camp in the old high school, which I think's fun. I always like when they go back to this. He's happy to finally be on one side of the fight, no longer straddling the line between Buffy and the Scoobies and the Initiative. He realizes that it was wrong to say that it's always people versus monsters. Buffy decides to tell him about Angel. Well, she says, I have some things I need to tell you about my past, and you're not going to like all of them. So we assume about Angel. We'll get there.
Yeah.
In Oz's van, Oz and Willow have a final goodbye. he realizes that he no longer has a place in Sunnydale, and being around Willow is not going to be good for him, all things considered. So they have a nice like hug and a pretty sad goodbye, and that's it for Oz. He leaves Sunnydale. Guys, should I say that he also leaves the series, or should we not say that?
I think it's okay.
All right, yeah.
It's
So
sad.
yeah, so that's it for Oz. He leaves Sunnydale and he leaves Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The last time we see him, so sad.
I
I
think that
always thought he would come back. You know?
I know. But like after this is when like Tara and Willow really get together, and then it's just like it's kind of too late. He doesn't really have like a place in the Scoobies. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I think the conversation between Willow and Oz is incredibly sweet, and she says something about like, and someday when I'm old and blue haired, and if I look up and you're there, I'm not gonna be surprised, and it's just so sweet, and they leave it on such good terms. I wish he could have like come in and cameoed occasionally or something, but I don't know like how that like story wise how it would have made sense. Um, I'm just sad he left altogether.
Me too.
But yeah.
So we have one more scene in the episode. Willow visits Tara. She brought a candle. Um, Before that, Tara was looking very forlorn out the window, just really in her feelings about the whole thing. And then Willow says, "Tara, I have to tell you," and she's like, "No, I understand. You have to be with the person you love." And Willow says, "I am," and they blow out the candle, and that's the end of the episode. What did you think of this one?
Oh, I have a love-hate relationship with this one. I love it
Mm.
because of Oz, and I hate it because Oz leaves again.
Right.
Um, but I mean, this one's a definite watch for me.
Mm.
There's character progression for Riley, um, which he desperately needed because he was way too GI Joe, Boy Scout,
Yeah.
always following the rules.
Mm.
Yeah, I give it a watch. I'll give it a 7. It's kind of like it's not like a mind-blowing, crazy, amazing episode like the next 3 really
Mm.
kind of are.
Mm.
But it's a good episode.
Yeah. I gave it an 8 just because my boy Oz. Love Oz. This is the last time we'd see him. I'm so sad. Like, yeah. I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. I just think Seth Green does such a good job as this character, and he's such a well written and fun character, and he's really gone now. All right, so you ready to move on to the Yoko factor?
Yes, I am.
All right. Season 4, episode 20 originally aired May 9th, 2000. It's called The Yoko Factor. It was written by Douglas Petrie, directed by David Grossman. So the new guy, the new army leader, initiative guy, whose name I don't know because it's just probably supposed to just be Professor Walsh, and you just threw him in to have him stand there, is giving a briefing to Washington regarding how the initiative's holding up, with the death of Professor Walsh, and how they're doing, fighting the forces of evil. He says morale is low, but the capture rates are high. He also laments on Riley's departure, saying he doesn't think he was ever the soldier that you all thought he was, and that's because he thinks too much. Which gets back to earlier conversations, right?
Mhm.
About Riley.
I think Buffy's really the one that got like gears rolling in his head just
Oh,
regarding
yeah.
anything because before that he was very much like it took him a long time to even realize that he liked Buffy. Like that's
Mm,
how brainwashed he was.
right. Yeah, no, if it weren't for Buffy, he would have just been like Super Soldier Boy forever.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Spike is visited by Adam, and he explains the problem with fighting the Slayer and how dangerous and prone to winning she is. And Adam says, "Yes, that makes things interesting." He says, "No, you're not listening, Mr. Bits. You're going to be interestingly dead." Which I thought was one of the best lines Spike's ever had.
I love Spike so much.
Oh man, and I'm pretty sure this is the part where he's like, "But if we do this, you get you get the chip out of my head. And he's like, Scout's honor. And he's like, you were a Boy Scout? This is parts of me. Oh, man. Adam is trying to understand why Spike's afraid of Buffy when he's killed two Slayers in the past. He's like, why is this girl such a big deal? After explaining to Spike that he knows how Spike feels, like he's just a caged animal with this chip. Um, Spike is very impressed by Adam's insight into his own psyche, and he calls him the Tony Robbins of demons, which I thought was hilarious.
I wonder if Maggie put a little bit of her like
Oh yeah,
psychology
yeah,
professor thinking in his head.
that would definitely make a lot of sense. And he's already shown he's just like very connected to the world in the episode with Jonathan,
Yeah.
Superstar, where he's the only one until Buffy later realizes that it's not right.
Yeah.
Um, Adam's
There's
a
a
very
theory.
dangerous boy.
Yeah. There's a theory that maybe Adam was part seer.
Mm,
Like we've seen seers before. Drusilla was a seer.
mm,
And maybe that's what allowed him to kind of see through the spell.
makes
Either
sense.
either that or like the robot side of him.
Right, the logical side makes sense. All right, so Spike comes up with a plan to manipulate Buffy's friends away from her so that she will be weak in the coming battle. And then they'll actually have a chance to pull off their plan. Um, Xander and Riley talk about their shared dislike of Angel in the school. Riley has just been filled in on everything. Well, on a lot of stuff about Angel. The Cliff Notes version, I would say. Um,
Buffy might have left out the fact that they slept together and that's why he lost his soul.
right? And this is all in the backdrop of the the second half of the crossover of Faith with the Buffy and Angel, where
Hmm.
Buffy goes to LA. So she's not even here right now to talk about
Yeah.
all this. She's visiting Angel. Um, so Riley doesn't know the specifics of the relationship, obviously, or why Angel turned evil. Xander doesn't realize this. And he's also just kind of hates Angel, so he just kind of overly explains how Angel lost his soul. Riley puts together what a moment of happiness means, of course, just sleeping with Buffy. Um, this scene at the at Giles' apartment, Giles is singing Freebird, which is great. I mean, he has an amazing voice.
He
And it does
does.
kind of reflect how he's feeling disconnected from Buffy and the group as a
Mhm.
whole, as he's not the Watcher anymore. Spike walks in and Giles screams just as soon as he sees him.
And
It's a
like Lorelai
hilarious
drops his
scream.
guitar.
Yeah. And Spike just completely straight faced. You know, for someone with Watcher on his resume, you'd think he'd cast your eye to the door once in a while.
Or lock it.
Or lock
At
it.
any point, just lock
Right?
it.
Oh, man. Spike pretends that he's just there to pick up some blood he left when he was living with Giles and to warn Buffy about the coming evil regarding Adam. He says he has some inside details on some files that are at the initiative that might help them with their fight. And he wants to make a deal, chief among them, that he will not, under any circumstances, be slain, which is reasonable. um, but he needles Giles because he's like, I can't make this deal with you. I can only make it with the Slayer. You're not really her Watcher anymore. She doesn't listen to you. You're just there. But he plays it off so well. Like, it's just like, yeah, it's just something Spike's saying. But really, it's like very pinpoint, you know?
Oh yeah. And this is a great first um illustration of Spike's ability to manipulate the Scoobies because the Yoko factor, going back to Yoko and John Legend, where people blame Yoko for the breakup of the Beatles. Um, and so that's kind of what Spike's trying to do. He's got an in with the Scoobies, and he's trying to use that to break them up, and that's kind of like the task that Adam has given him is, this Slayer is different because she has friends. Well, take your friends away from her. So he's from the inside out trying to break up the Scoobies to then make Buffy more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. So, with that scene done, we move on to Willow and Tara, who have adopted a kitten, and for the moment, anyways, named it Miss Kitty Fantastico. Oh, which is awesome. Willow's just like completely in love with, because anytime you get like a puppy or a kitten, it's just like the cutest thing in the world. Everything it does is just the cutest
Yes.
thing. So I felt this very hard. They also talk about potentially moving in together. And this kind of exposes how Willow feels her relationship with Buffy has grown further apart as they both, began to get into new relationships. Riley stops by Buffy's dorm and is super weird to Buffy about Buffy's trip to LA. Buffy tells Riley in vague terms that her encounter with Angel did not go well, which is an understatement. They punched each other in the face.
Yeah.
No spoilers. But yeah, it's not good at all. And that this whole thing has to do with Faith as she visited Angel in the second half of that crossover, which we will get to sooner or later. Eventually. I don't want to get too into it, but this will all make more sense. I assume if you're watching this podcast, you're probably watching Angel too. I mean, it just seems like the thing to do, but yeah. Xander and Anya meet up with Spike to give him Riley's clothes to sneak into the initiative, which I thought they did like a good job of this because they set it up earlier with Xander giving like the clown pants to Riley to wear and then bringing the clothes. But then later Riley just has his clothes again while Spike is supposedly wearing his clothes, so they messed up the continuity.
Also the fact that, I'm sorry, even though that shirt looks a little bit baggy on Spike, Mark Blucas and James Marsters do not wear the same size
No,
clothes.
not even
No.
close. Oh man. So there's a fun scene where there's like a little gun on the clothes, and Spike's like, "Yes, I like this quite a bit." He tries to point it at Anya and Xander, and just immediately his chip goes off.
Doesn't it turn out that it's a fake gun?
Yeah, Xander's like, it's not, I wouldn't give you like a real gun, and Anya's like, "Who can't even point a fake gun at people? That's pathetic." And she's like eating like a Frosty or something too. So man. So during this, Spike plants the seed that he overheard Willow and Buffy talking behind Xander's back about how he should join the army since nothing's really going that well for Xander in Sunnydale, and he keeps getting fired. As Xander says, he's like, "Oh, I see. He's making fun of me for not being able to do anything. Like, Xander got fired from Starbucks. Xander got fired from that phone sex line." Which we missed that episode. I don't remember.
Well, we do know that he spent at least one night working at a ladies' club.
That's true.
In his
yeah.
cross-country road trip that he didn't even make it out of California.
Yeah, because I think what would Buffy do? Sometimes I think what's Buffy wearing out of speech? Oh yeah. Man. So Xander's not happy that his friends are talking about him like this. Like he can't do anything right, which is understandable. Right. Oh man. So this is just such a random scene, which I feel like they could have like done something to like have Spike tell Buffy to check out this cave, have demons appeared to a bunch of places so that Forrest has to go to this cave alone,
Right.
But in how it really happens is Buffy and Forrest just like come to the same point in the forest at the exact same time somehow.
Are they both tracking Adam? Is that what's up?
Yeah, I think so. But like Forrest has no backup, so I don't really understand why he's doing this. So she runs into Forrest and the pair search the cave together while pretty much being like, I hate you. No, I hate you more. Forrest is very upset that Buffy basically ruined Riley's career from his perspective, which I guess makes sense from his perspective, but also he's never been a fan of Buffy, so you can't really take what he's saying at face value.
Well, also he blames Buffy for basically losing his best friend.
True, that too. So Adam jumps out and the try to fight Adam. Well, Buffy tries to fight him while keeping Forrest away, but Forrest will not do that. He shoots Adam with the stun gun, and Adam just like absorbs the energy from it. And then
robot, you just recharged him, dumbass.
Right. And then Forrest gets stabbed and dies. So.
Oh, so sad. He was such a well-developed character. I liked him so much.
Right. Oh man. So Buffy gets very beaten up and blasted by Adam using Forrest's gun. So she just sprints out of there and falls and hits her head after rolling down a hill and gets knocked out. I don't know.
Electrocuted by freaking 12,000 volts or something that it took one of the initiative guys 2 hours to recover from. Right. All right.
It's just a weird scene. Like I hate scenes like this where people fall down hills and hit their heads on rock and just get knocked out. Like I believe Buffy wouldn't die from that because she's the Slayer, but like in other stuff when it happens, like you're probably dead. You just smacked your head into a rock and just lay in the forest with no one around to help you. You're probably gonna die. Anyways, back at Giles' apartment, Spike like walks up to the door and then runs in, acting like he's out of breath from running, which is great. And they're like, "Oh, did you get the files?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Also, I had to give a couple of the soldiers the old slip." While Giles is watching this, he's just drinking the whole time.
Well, because Spike put it in his head a couple scenes ago that like the Slayer doesn't need you, you're not important, blah blah blah. So Giles, as a response to that, has started drinking, and it gets kind of funny.
So Willow, Tara, and Giles like look at the files. Giles goes to get himself another drink. While they're waiting, Spike needles Giles about not being able to give him the deal until Willow gives him the all clear. Because I guess since Buffy's not there, he just kind of moved on. Like, all right, fine, you can give me the deal. I believe you, whatever. But he gives like, oh, what? First, like, Buffy doesn't listen to you. Now you gotta have Red give you the all clear or whatever. So just more shitting on Giles.
Yep.
Not good. He also tells Willow that Xander was judging her for her new relationship with Buffy. He's really mean about this. He's like, yeah, I heard like you said something about it just being a phase or whatever. And he also like insults her computer skills, where she's like, oh, can I crack a government encryption on my laptop? Basically incredibly hard. And he's like, yeah, you're not very good with computers anymore either. Just like really offhanded.
Well, he says something about yeah, your friends said you're not as good with computers anymore. Been into the new thing more lately. And she's like, new thing? And he's low key talking about her relationship with Tara, but also referring to like her being more into magic and less into technology lately.
Yeah. And that's when he says like, but Xander said it was just a phase.
Yeah.
Like, just a phase? What the fuck? Oh man. So at the initiative, things are getting out of hand. There's overcrowding in the cells, and there's just tons of calls coming into the radio. People need reinforcement. Riley has jerry-rigged his own radio to listen in so no one captures him, but while he's listening in, he's hearing a squad just get destroyed by an unknown demon, and he's like, I can't like let this just happen. I have to help. And when he goes there, he sees that the unknown demon is actually Angel. He's just kicking everyone's ass. So they have a little talk. He's like, Riley, and he's like, do I know you? He's like, we have a mutual friend. And he's like, oh, Buffy, you're Angel. And I mean, it doesn't look great for Angel because he is beating up humans. Um,
Right.
so basically, Riley thinks that maybe Angel has lost his soul, especially because Buffy just visited him, and Riley's a
Mm-hmm.
very jealous boy, and
Oh
thinks
my
that maybe
god.
they slept together. It's just a whole thing. So they have a standoff, which basically is just a dick measuring contest of them insulting each other before they finally get into a real fight.
Which they literally shoot the scene at like pelvis height.
Yeah.
Just to give more emphasis on how stupid this is.
So I will say Riley does hold his own pretty well. He gets like his lumps in, but eventually Angel just vamps out and just throws Riley across the like alley twice, and then a
Yeah.
vehicle comes and they both have to run away.
I think Angel was holding back
Yeah,
out
you
of
think so?
respect for Buffy and not wanting to break her boyfriend in half.
Yeah, I mean, he probably pretty easily could have just killed Riley if he wanted to, but he definitely didn't want to because I mean, a lot of explaining. Buffy would probably be pretty upset. It's just the whole thing. Oh man! So back at the dorm, Buffy's nursing her wounds because apparently no one went looking for Buffy. Buffy just had to wake up on her own, alone in the woods, and walk home.
Well, I don't think they knew she was back from Los Angeles yet.
Oh, all right, that's fair then. That's better. Oh man! So this is interrupted by Angel knocking on the door. She's like hi, and he's like hi, and then they like sit there awkwardly, and he's like, "I'm gonna need a little bit more than that." And she's like, "All right, you're invited in." So they start to have a little bit of a talk, and then Riley breaks in and is pointing a gun at Angel. Those two don't really talk stuff out. Instead, they just punch each other, and then Buffy just like so angrily just easily pushes them apart from each other,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
It's like, can you guys catfish some other time or
Yeah,
catfight some other time?
yeah, it's just so ridiculous.
She's like, I've
Uh,
had a rough day.
yeah, she's like, okay, that's enough. If I see one more display of testosterone poisoning, I'll personally put you both in the hospital. Oh man. So Buffy explains to Riley that she needs to talk to Angel. And Riley's like, I'm not leaving this room. So they both just walk outside of the room. He's like, yep, not moving a muscle. Oh,
Like,
man.
it goes to show that like Buffy with like after Riley says that line, Buffy with one look to Angel is just like she does like a little head tilt, and they like and you there's a full conversation that's happened in that one look of
Right.
he serious? Yeah, he's serious. Okay, you want to go talk out in the hallway? Yeah, let's go
Yeah.
do that. Like that is what I've been missing in a Buffy relationship is that like Buffy and Angel have just had like these big fights in the last two episodes over on Angel, but they still have that connection that they can have that entire conversation between themselves without
Right.
saying a word. Where it's
Right.
like Buffy has to feed every thought to Riley because he's so granola Boy Scout do gooder.
Oh, man. So out in the hall, Angel says that he came to apologize for how things ended. He didn't want to leave it like that. Buffy apologizes for how she acted. It's hard to be vague about this because we're not talking about those episodes, but Buffy
Yeah.
wasn't the best in her appearance on Angel.
No, but there was a lot going on.
Extenuating circumstances, to be sure.
Yeah.
So they both apologize to each other and kind of make up. Angel says the next time he has to apologize, he'll give a call instead of coming here and causing all this trauma. Oh, man. So Angel heads back to LA, but he's like, oh, yeah, by the way, Riley. And Buffy's like, yeah. He's like, I don't like him. He just leaves.
But he says it in like a I don't like him and that's why he's okay
Yeah, right.
kind of way.
Yeah.
It's like a I don't like him but I approve.
Mm,
It's really kind of weird.
yeah. And Buffy just kind of smiles and laughs about it and goes back in with Riley. Oh man. So Spike returns to Adam and he explains how great a job he did by telling him about the Yoko factor. He's like, this is the Yoko factor. And Adam's just like, what? And he's like, oh, come on. You know about the Beatles? And he's like, yes, I know. I like some of their songs. I like Helter Skelter. And he's like, yeah, of course you do. Oh, man. Was Helter Skelter is obviously very famously associated with Charles Manson. Um, so he explains the Yoko factor, how the Beatles, in actuality, were ready to break up. They had all these things in place to set up the breakup. But since Yoko had just come into the picture, she gets a lot of the blame for what caused it. Kind of saying that, like, the cracks were there. Spike just nudged them along.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Adam says before he removes Spike's chip, there's one more thing he has to do. Then we go to the next scene. Riley explains to Buffy that he was worried that Buffy slept with Angel again, and Angel had lost his soul. Buffy says, "How can you even ask me that? That like if they slept together?" And he's like, "I don't know." Xander said, and Buffy's like, "Xander? Oh, he's the deadest man in Deadonia." Oh, which is of course great. Oh man. Riley says that Xander explained the trigger of how Angel lost his soul, and then Riley freaked out when he thought Angel was bad, kind of implying, like, oh my god, I thought you slept together with him and Angel's bad now. He says, I'm so in love with you, I can't think straight, which is a classy, terrible Riley line.
Okay, but wait, there's something that happens in this conversation where Riley's like, "Oh, I thought he was bad, and like I thought you guys slept together. He lost his soul again. That's why he was back and all this stuff." And she's like, "We didn't sleep together. He still has his soul." And he's like, "Wait, that's the good angel?"
Yeah. Oh, man.
It's like, no, he doesn't
So,
have any soulless to kick your ass.
yeah. Buffy tells Riley about Adam killing Forrest. Riley doesn't take it well, obviously, and he leaves. Back at Giles' place, Giles is drunk, and the tension is very high. They all start airing their grievances that were brought about by Spike. While they're arguing, Anya and Tara hiding in the Anya and Tara hiding in the bathroom.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, nice bathroom. Oh man. Buffy gets upset about them coming after her and pushes back, asking how they can possibly help her with this Adam situation. And she says, I guess I'm starting to understand why there's no ancient prophecy about the chosen one and her friends. And then she leaves. Final scene of the episode. In Adam's cave, he says, I've been waiting for you, to someone off screen. Camera pans over, and it's Riley who says, and now I'm here. And then to be continued. Oof, that ending. Jesus.
Oh goodness.
So, what did you think?
So I give this one a watch. I think it sets up some very important plot points for the next two episodes. Um, I I hate episodes where it's the Scoobies fighting. I don't like to see them fighting amongst each other. Um, it's another reason why like I hated the beginning of season 3. It's because they're not communicating, they're not talking to each other, and it just creates this building and building and building tension, and then we see that tension all kind of come out in that last scene of this episode with them. Um, I like this episode because of what it sets up for the next episode. So for that reason, I'll give it an 8 because it's the Yoko Factor and Primeval are really like they're kind of like a
One
two-part
episode, yeah.
finale.
Hmm.
They're like a two-part finale, and then you get an extra episode, which is Restless, because like next episode is like the what you would typically have the big finale like fight and all that. So it's this season's a little bit weird, but yeah, I give it an 8.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 as well. Like you said, Primeval in this episode are basically one episode. I mean, it even has to be continued on it. So I'm excited to talk about that one, and then I'm really excited to talk about Restless. Because that one, we could probably do a whole episode just on Restless. Because that episode
I do not
is
envy
wild.
you for having to write the notes for Restless. Restless is a crazy ride of an episode.
Yes. Luckily, it's mostly broken out by characters, which I think will be the saving grace. But yeah, there's a lot happening in that episode. Oh, man. All right. So, anything that you'd like to promote before we get out of here?
If you want, you can hit me up on Twitter. If you follow me, I will warn you that occasionally I do share out Animal Crossing stuff to try to get people to let me onto their islands. It's those damn turnips.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. But yeah, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, say hi, let me know you like the show. Feel free to do so. I'm at Jillian_Swan, that's Swan with 2 N's. And yep, that's all I got.
Awesome. You can follow me on Twitter at oh my goodness. Try that again. Take 2. You can follow me on Twitter at TheFakeBMar. That's BMARR. You can follow the channel on Twitter at WGEverything, on Instagram at WickedEverything, on Twitch at twitch.tv/WickedEverything, and on TikTok, search WickedEverything. We will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for listening. The Sunnydale Review is a Wicked Good Everything production. The fan art of Buffy was created by Fishbone Art. The logo was created by Tamar Kutab. The original intro and outro song was created by Alex Carl.